Well, 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 looks like Anthony Albanese has landed himself in some hot water again. The Prime Minister is copping serious heat over what the opposition is calling a blatant attempt to mislead Australians about China's military exercises in the Tasman Sea. The big question is, did he know? Did he lie? And more importantly, will he apologise? Stay with us, because this story has twists and turns that'll leave you shaking your head. So, here's the go. Australia woke up to some pretty alarming news. China's People's Liberation Army Navy had been conducting live-fire drills off the New South Wales coast, right in the Tasman Sea. But what's more shocking isn't just China flexing its muscles, it's that our government, the very people meant to keep us safe, didn't seem to have a clue until after the drills had already begun. Now, this is where things get really dicey. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese went on record, more than once, claiming that China had given Australia advance notice of these drills. But hold on to your hats, because according to Defence Chief Admiral David Johnston, that's simply not true. During a Senate estimates hearing, Johnston revealed that New Zealand's military sent Australia a warning 90 minutes after the drills had already begun. You heard that right, after the exercise was already underway. So, if we're to believe the Prime Minister, where exactly was this supposed advance notice from China? Enter Shadow Home Affairs Minister James Paterson, and let's just say, he's not holding back. He's called for Albanese to apologise, accusing him of outright misleading the Australian people. He says they gave notice. Not once, not twice, but multiple times, Paterson told Sky News Australia. But the defence chief has flat-out contradicted that claim. And that's not all. Albanese also suggested that both Virgin Australia and the New Zealand Defence Force had sent warnings around the same time. But according to the actual reports, Virgin Australia raised the alarm first, at 9:58 a.m., while the Kiwis only sent their report at 11:01 a.m. So that's another claim from the Prime Minister that just doesn't add up. With two major inconsistencies now exposed, Paterson didn't mince words. He demanded the PM front up and apologise to Australians for misleading them about the Chinese drills. And honestly, can you blame him? But here's where things go from bad to worse. It's not just about what Albanese said, it's about what the government didn't do. The Australian Defence Force had the capability to monitor China's activity, yet for some reason, our government left it to the Kiwis. Why? And as a result, we had a delay in finding out what was happening. An embarrassing security failure that raises serious concerns about our preparedness. Paterson is baffled, and so are a lot of Australians. Why did we hand this off to New Zealand when we had the resources to monitor it ourselves? He asked. And honestly, it's a bloody good question. Not only that, but instead of taking a strong stance against China's actions, Albanese has downplayed the whole thing. Paterson says the PM should have stood up for Australia and our military, instead of making excuses for the Chinese. And this next part really fires people up, because Albanese actually compared what China did in the Tasman Sea to what the Australian Navy does in the South China Sea. Excuse me? That's a comparison that doesn't sit well with a lot of people, especially those in uniform. As Paterson put it, we do not behave in an unprofessional or reckless manner. We do not conduct exercises under live flight paths or force commercial airlines to reroute at the last minute. But that's exactly what China did in our waters. And he's not wrong. China's behavior forced commercial airlines to change their routes at the last second, something the Australian Defence Force would never do. So why is Albanese drawing comparisons between the two? Is he trying to soften the blow? Or is he just out of his depth when it comes to national security? Paterson certainly thinks so. He suggested that maybe, just maybe, the PM isn't even reading his security briefings properly. Ouch. Here's where it gets really interesting. Some are asking, is Albanese simply naive when it comes to China? You'd think after years of strained relations, after all the warnings from experts and security agencies, Australia's leadership would have learned a thing or two about dealing with Beijing. But Paterson reckons Albanese is either still in La La Land or he just doesn't care enough about national security. Maybe 5 years ago you could have excused this kind of naivety, he said. But in 2024? There's no excuse. And here's where it really gets spicy, because some are now speculating that China could have had submarines lurking in the area as part of this military exercise. Paterson asked defense officials about it, but they couldn't confirm or deny anything. Let that sink in. If China did have subs there, what else were they up to? And more importantly, why wasn't our government all over this from the start? Just when you think things couldn't get worse for the government, they have. In the midst of all this national security drama, Australians have also been hit with the biggest jump in private health insurance premiums in 7 years. And guess what? The Albanese government sat on this news for months. Only now, on a day filled with bad headlines, have they finally admitted it. Patterson reckons this was a deliberate attempt to bury the news while Australians were distracted. But here's the thing, families across the country are struggling with skyrocketing costs. Housing, groceries, petrol, and now health insurance. It's just another slap in the face from a government that seems completely out of touch. So let's recap. The PM told us China gave advance notice of their military drills, but they didn't. He claimed Virgin Australia and New Zealand warned us at the same time, but they didn't. Our government had the resources to track China's movements, but didn't. And while all this was happening, Australians were left in the dark. This is bigger than just a political debate. This is about trust, national security, and whether our leaders are up to the job. The question is, will Anthony Albanese admit he got it wrong? Will he apologize? Or will he just sweep this under the rug and hope we all forget? One thing's for sure, Australians aren't mugs. They see what's happening. And they are not happy. What do you reckon? Should Albanese front up and take responsibility? Or is this just another storm in a teacup? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more updates on this unfolding political mess. We'll catch you in the next one.